Have you ever seen something so disgusting that you could smell it through the screen? Something that goes through your mind like a long sharp needle and stays there for hours. I'm talking about the substance. The Substance is a body horror film directed by French filmmaker Coralie. It is about female self-hatred driven by unrealistic modern beauty standards. The story follows Elizabeth Sparkle, played by Demi, an aging Hollywood star who turns to an injection of a luminous fluid called the Substance to create a younger version of herself named Sue, played by Margaret Qualley. Each time Elizabeth takes the Substance, she has 7 days to live as a younger self before she must return to her older body. After Sue decides to break those rules and stay in control for a little longer than allowed, Elizabeth's body begins to rot rapidly. This gradually turns the Substance into literally an addictive drug because the more her body rots, the more she despises returning to her older body. The most fascinating thing for me about this film lies in symbolism, and just the fact that those two versions are meant to symbolize two parts of her consciousness was a freaking brilliant idea. And interestingly, when they do encounter each other for the first time, they don't look or feel like the same person, but two very distinctive strangers to each other, worse sworn enemies, as you're witnessing Sue beating the crap out of Elizabeth. Their difference is so extreme that they become split personalities. Sue represents desire and ambition, all the things that Elizabeth repressed or sacrificed. When Sue looks at Elizabeth, she sees everything she never wanted to become. Elizabeth is suffering from something called body dysmorphia, which is a mental disorder defined by an overwhelming preoccupation with a perceived flaws in physical appearance. This is something that is destroying her from the inside like a cancer and ultimately becomes her downfall. We don't have to look far to notice our society's obsession with physical looks. No matter how much we work out, no matter how much we're trying to stay healthy, it seems that it's never enough. We always seek some sort of perfection. As Patrick Bateman said it best,
"You can always be thinner, look better."
But I think what we usually forget about is beauty standards are always temporarily. They've always changed through our history. So instead of trying to so desperately fit these temporarily beauty standards, we should embrace our natural looks. Embrace what has been given to us since the day we were born. Because after all, beauty is in the eye of the beholder. The absurdity of beauty standards only gets crazier when we take a look at historical trends. Did you know that overweight men in the 19th century were considered attractive? Because overweight body meant that you could afford a lot of food, suggesting wealthiness. Then by 1960s, counterculture popularized skinny, long-haired men like Mick Jagger or David Bowie. For women in the 1960s, a ultra-skinny figure was epitomized by supermodels. So the next time you feel like you're not attractive enough, remember it's not that you're unattractive, you're just living in the wrong era. One commentary perfectly highlighted the theme of the Substance. It tells us that beauty is not something we create, but something we uncover, a truth that exists within us, waiting to be seen. Something I personally disagree about is labeling this as a feminist film. I don't see how an overrepresentation of up-close sexualized butts is considered feminist. Yes, it does make you uncomfortable watching these women on screen mirroring that male gaze concept, but I feel like this film has quite failed at its very messaging. It even contradicts itself. It wants to criticize male gaze and objectification that women experience, but consistently shows close-ups of Margaret Qualley's ass. Look, if Margaret Qualley's ass wants to lead the resistance against streaming platforms and bring more people to movie theaters, I'll march behind it respectfully. But for me personally, where the film's message sort of fades away was in the ending. And I know some people love the ending, but I happen to be in that other group of people. The ending of The Substance cranked up body horror to extreme levels. There's like blood and guts everywhere. So I felt like the film's message got a little overpowered by extreme brutality of body horror genre. Gradual decay of her body was already disturbing and effectively conveyed film's themes, but the final act felt too exaggerated for me and the whole message just sort of faded away. They didn't have to turn her into Madonna. On the positive side, female self-hatred was brilliantly demonstrated by Demi Moore's performance, especially in a scene where she's getting ready for a date but just can't stop self-examining herself in a mirror, so she starts ripping out her skin, her hair. You can feel her frustration. It is heartbreaking that she could have found another job, she could have gone on a date with her old friend, but the substance caused her developing body dysmorphia. Once she experienced what it's like to be young again, she just couldn't get enough of it. I also think film's emotional impact depends on age and gender. I do feel like women can more easily identify with Moore and Qualley's characters, and in terms of age, when I get older, perhaps watching this film would be one entirely different experience for me than it is right now when I'm 23 years old. By the way, you're watching a younger version of myself. This is Extrovert. I took a haircut to match the modern beauty standards, and Introvert, I got that guy locked up in a bedroom. Just so you know. Demi Moore delivers the best performance of her entire career. Ironically, at the age of 62, she is gorgeous. The casting choice must have been deliberate, as majority of audiences still find her attractive and contrary to her character's belief. Margaret Qualley as Sue is mesmerizing. Ever since I saw her playing that hippie girl in Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, I knew she's great at playing manipulative characters. Rather than being a passive victim of societal expectations, she navigates them by exploiting others or situations to her advantage. Dennis Quaid delivers a disturbing performance here. He is not your typical antagonist, but an embodiment of entire system with his sleek jerk face, like a metaphor for greedy capitalist mechanism.
The scene with Dennis eating the shrimp is by far the most violent scene in the whole movie. He ate, I think, 4 pounds of shrimp.
Quaid sees women as assets, just like shrimps is eating, swallowing their bodies and spitting out the head, because head doesn't matter in this business, it is only the body that matters. This was the most disgusting movie I have ever seen. And believe me, I've seen plenty of horror slashers, but nothing compares to The Substance. This is more disgusting than The Thing and The Fly together. Visually, this film looks incredible. Certain shots remind me of Hitchcock's Psycho and Kubrick's The Shining. The use of wide-angle lenses distort the human body and exaggerate proportions. The sound design is mind-blowing. I just don't understand how this film has not received an Academy Award for the best sound. The sound design reminded me as an aspiring filmmaker of how powerful and important is sound in enhancing film's visceral impact. What I particularly loved about The Substance is its significant box office success as an independent film. I mean, in today's film industry where large studios dominate the market, making such independent achievements is relatively rare. I would love to see more independent films to break this monogamy of superhero movies that have been dominating the cinema pretty much in the past 15 years or so. The Substance remains a powerful exploration of the lens women go for societal approval. This is independent cinema at its boldest, and its technical achievements make it a standout in the body horror genre. If it wasn't for the ending, I would have given The Substance an A, but because of it, I'm gonna give The Substance a B+.